Well, hello, Stampin' friends. Welcome back to Race Crate Cards. This is a card that we are going to be making today, and I hope you love gnomes as much as I do, but I can't seem to get enough of them. I'll show you the products that we are going to be using in today's card. Some of it's been a little bit pre-prepped so that we're not here forever and a day, but first thing we want to do is go ahead and get this sentiment stamped. And I have got some really good news for you guys too. So we'll get to that in just a second. I ordered from Spellbinders the clear stamp of the month from March of 2024. So just earlier this year. It's called Storytime Gnomes. And I keep calling it Storybook. So if you hear me say that in the video, refer back to Storytime Gnomes, not the storybook. And there are 3 good-sized gnomes in here. This one here is holding a book, and he's got his hot beverage, coffee, cocoa, whatever you want to make it. There are some extra books that can be stamped. This one here is all about the book. And the one I'm using today is the little gnome sitting on top of the books. The sentiments, gnomed out, you, books, and coffee are my favorite. Make this birthday one for the books. Long story short, thanks for everything. How adorable is that? It's so cute. And it gets better because there are coordinating dies. One for each of the sentiments and each of the gnomes, and one for that extra set of books. Okay. I did bring in from Stampin' Up, this is current in the online exclusives. If you're with Stampin' Up and maybe you don't go online very much, it is called the Garden Meadow dies. And the die we're going to use from that set is going to be this one right here. It's that little arch. We'll get ready to die cut that out here in just a minute. And from Hero Arts, the Butterfly Foliage Fancy dies. Y'all have seen me kind of play with this before. We didn't, put it in a card per se, but I'm using this foliage die right here. And then also from Spellbinders, this was their 3D embossing folder of the month for September of 2023, Mushroom Harvest. And you can't really see this too well, but let me slide out this large embossing folder that just has oodles of mushrooms and leaves and little berries. And oh, yes, it is 3D. It is wonderful. And let me show you what it looks like when it's embossed on some darker cardstock. This is the Blueberry Bushel cardstock from Stampin' Up. Because of the colors that I chose in my Ohuhu alcohol markers, I thought they went together really well. And for those of you who have Ohuhu markers, we still got to finish this, and I will tell you the colors that I use for everything. I wanted to get some of the coloring pre-done, but I didn't want to get all of it done just yet. So before we go any further, I am using Hero Arts Intense Black Ink for the sentiment. And let's go ahead and get that stamped so I can make real sure that it is dry. That will be one of the things we are going to die cut out. My camera here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. We're just going to gently press that down, bring that back up. It's better to go little bits at a time and gentle pressure so that you're not distorting your image. And I'm going to do that one more time because one of the O's in the word books is a little scant. Oh, I think we're good there. All right, I'm not going to need this right away, if at all. And then I'm going to try not to have it too much in your face, but I'm going to get out my little cleaning chamois and just wipe my stamp up because we will not need that again. And we'll get it put back where it goes. Y'all know me. I am a stickler for that. I can lose something that is right in front of me. How do you like my little scrap there that I used? Oh, but didn't that stamp nice? It did. So here's my little stamp set. And we're going to put this right back in here. Get that kind of separated. And, alright, which way do I want this to go? I want it to go right like this. I gotta tell you guys, I do not miss Stampin' Up! Doing everything backwards on their photopolymer stamps. I don't understand that. I never did understand it. And I am just so appreciative of everyone who puts things right side up. So, enough about that. Let me get my snips here. And I'm just going to snip around this. I still got some little scrap here that I can put over to the side and save for something else. And hopefully I've got enough room to die cut that out. I think I do. I'm going to lay that to the side. I'm going to cut this off. This will go in the trash, and I can save that too for something else. And again, I am using that opaque accent cardstock. I've showed you that before and how thick it is. I love this. This is wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. All right, let's get ready and go ahead and color our little gnome. Now, the colors that I am using for his beard, again, if you have the Ohuhu markers, is a CGO 30, which is a neutral gray, and the CGO 20. And I'm not just going real intense with this. I am going to be using my bullet tip instead of the brush because these areas are so small. And the artist has put in pretty much the illustrations of where all the dark color would go. So go by that. When they go ahead and give you that, and knowing that like right here next to his nose, there's going to be a little bit deeper shadow, and it'll make it so much easier for you. But these are a breeze to color. They're not that big. They're good size, but they're not so big that you're going to be coloring forever after. Honestly, the longest part of all this was his little hat with all those little hearts. For the little hearts, yes, it looks red. And I use the same color outlining the books. But I use Y5. It's called Rouge Orange. Well, rouge is French for red. So don't let the cap color mislead you, because one of the downfalls of the Ohuhu markers is not in how they work, not in the colors that they give you. They're wonderful and they're so easy to use, but the cap colors don't really match the ink, which is why you see me doing all kinds of little swatch tests. Let's go in here on his beard, and we're going to come in again where those illustrations are. Plus, it's going to be a little bit darker up under his nose and where his little mustache is kind of coming down to meet his beard. And then way down here where it would be all gathered up and extra thick, you're going to have a little bit more shadow. Right there where his little shoes are coming out. I went ahead and colored the shoes. For the shoes, I used the 120, which is your black. And then I used the CG Roman numeral 208. It's a cool gray 28. And I don't know how well you can tell on camera. Let me see if I can pick this up. You can see just a little bit of a highlight in the sole of his shoes where the light would be hitting them. Just a little bit. And because these images are relatively small-ish, you really don't have to do a whole lot of shading. And then I'm going to come in with my lightest color, my CGO 20, and I'm going to fill this in. And he's just going to have a very soft, light gray beard and mustache. Now I'm using my circular motions, and I'm coming up into where that little bit of darkest gray is and kind of blending that out right in here. Fill that in. And then it looks like a hot mess as soon as you're done. Give it time to dry. Give it time to kind of ripen, I guess, if you want to call it that. Now, this little book right underneath that he is sitting on, I'm going to use that darker shade, the CGO 30. And the pages, I want them to really kind of come across as white. Oh, I don't think I want my brush tip for this. Let me get my bullet tip here. And you know it's going to be darker right here on the edges. It's obviously going to be darker right there underneath him and right where his little hand is. So we're going to fill that in a little darker. Obviously, it's really going to be darker, just that little bit that's hanging out there. And then I'm just going to put just a hint. I love using the brush. I guess that's why I keep doing that. I'm just going to put a little bit lighter right there. There we go for that one. And I want to go ahead and do this book down here. And again, the darker is going to be right up underneath where that cover is, where the spine is, right there. Maybe a little bit coming in right there. And then I am barely adding any of the lighter gray, just little bits here and there. Kind of soften that a little bit. And that's it. I'm going to leave more white space than what I was able to do in the small one. I use the same colors of gray down here on this book, and it's a little bit darker underneath. I call them jewels on the spine of the book. And again, you may not be able to really pick up on that in the camera, but it is there. If you were looking at this in real life, you would see that difference. Now, for his hat, I've already showed you the Rouge Orange, the Y5 that I did for the little hearts and the outline on 2 of the books. My darkest blue was a B180. My mid-tone was my B140. And my lightest color was my B120, which I carried that down here into this book. And my mid-tone went around the little dots down here on this book. So what I still need to come back and do are his little sleeves. And I decided to just make those dark blue. It is such a tiny, tiny area that I'm not shading. Maybe someone like Kelly Taylor could take that tiny little area and do the shading. Yours truly is not that talented yet. I hope one day to be. I do. See a little white spot. There we go. Got that. And I missed a piece of his little beard right there. So I'm going to get my darkest gray and just put that little bit in there. Okay. This particular gnome is not going to have a whole lot of color skin-wise. And so originally what I did is I took my darkest, which is my E090 eggshell white, and I outlined his nose. And then I used my E010, the pale fruit pink, as a highlight in the middle. But again, I can see it in real life, but I don't know that you will be able to pick up on that. And I thought, you know, just go with your darkest color and just fill that in. And don't even worry about shading. You know, we're card makers. Same thing for the hands. I did the same thing on my original card, and I left a little highlight. And in real life, yes, you can pick up on it, But honestly, we're card makers, and unless you aspire to be all that with alcohol coloring, give yourself a break, de-stress, just color it in. And you can do the same thing for any of this. Any of this would look good in a solid color, solid colors. You really don't have to shade. Now for the book, down here, I wanted to bring in some brown tones, and so my darkest tone is going to be the BR2. My mid-tone is going to be the E490, and my light color is the BR3. So I'm going to start out with my darkest color. And again, we know that right up under here, it's going to be kind of dark. I'm going to extend that out just a little bit. And I don't know why I'm splitting this up and doing the rings around the book first. But you do you when you're coloring. Again, you can color it solid if that's what you want to do. But there is enough real estate here on this big book to kind of get some shading put in there. And so I'm going to little circular motions, try to make sure I'm staying in the lines. You know, if you get out of the lines around your edges, a white gel pen is wonderful for covering that up. In fact, I had two on my original card, and I bet you never even saw that, did you? Never even noticed. We're going to come up a little bit here. That darkest color. There we go. Now let me go to my mid-tone. I believe it was the 490. Yeah. So 490. Now, on your mid-tones, you've got options for mid-tones and your lightest color. I do want to kind of come up into where that was darker, and I want to kind of bring that out. Kind of bring that out a little bit. Bring this out. And again, until it dries and kind of floats into each other, you're not going to see that smoothness, because it takes them just a hot minute. It does take them just a hot minute. Now, there's not a big area there left for the highlight, but I promise you, it's really going to show up. Now, because it's my highlight and I want to leave it a pure highlight, I'm not going into my mid-tone and bring it up. And there will be times you might choose to do that, but I am not. And look what I did. I got these backwards. Well, boom. Okay. Here's my lightest color. And I'm going to be able to knock that back a little bit, but I may have kind of messed that up. We're going to go ahead and fill this in, and then I'm going to go back where I put my so-called mid-tone, and it ended up being the lightest color. We're going to try to kind of salvage this a little bit, if I can. I think I can. And honestly, you know, whoever you give your card to, they're not going to notice. They are not going to notice. They're just going to think you did some awesome shading. And it happens. We all make mistakes. I wish my highlight had been straight across like I had it here, but you know, being on camera, you gotta love it, right? So we're going to let that dry for just a second. We've got this to die cut out. We have our sentiment to die cut out. And we have our arch to die cut out. So I'm scooching back on my markers. Oh, and we have the grass to die cut too. Alright. I have really enjoyed using my Gina K magnetic platform, guys. And I've got to tell you, You know, I showed you that, yes, you can technically use it with the Stampin' Up! Cut and Emboss machine, which means that probably you can also use it with the Spellbinders machine, but I didn't have that machine, so I can't promise you that. Have no plans on ordering one of their excellent machines because I've got 2 good ones already, so why would I do that? In my opinion, if you want this solid magnetic platform, just get you a Gina K Intracut. Honestly, you won't have to worry about that thin die adapter warping with the Stampin' Up! Machine, you know, and because you have to order the platform and the thin die adapter together, I want to say, don't quote me, I didn't go back and look it up online. I want to say that was like $34 plus your tax, plus your shipping. And nobody should ever have to replace their platform. I mean, something major, honestly, would have to happen to have to replace that. And you know what? I set that down. And, oh, the suction. I want to put this to where I have the handle right next to me. So one more time, if you missed that video, you have got this magnetic platform. Whoops, let me move this part. That is a solid sheet of metal. And this is what it looks like on the bottom. I've probably got something there it shouldn't be there. It's not super heavy, but it is so nice. And then we have the magnetic cutting mat. You can see mine is well loved. I actually took it to the sink earlier and scrubbed it with some soapy water and a toothbrush. And so I know it's clean. It's a little stained. It's a little used. And then you have solid magnet on the back of this, which means that these 2 pieces just clamp together. Now, I've got it offset just a little bit. I'm having to really push to slide that to get them even with each other. But I love this. Love it, love it, love it. All right, let me get my scrap up here. Get my arch. I'm going to move it down here into this corner. Trying to be saving on my paper. I didn't have a small enough scrap. I had to grab a bigger one than I would have normally used for something this size, but that's okay. And then I have to make sure I am on, let me see, where am I at here? Yeah, that's die cutting. Now we can take that through. There we go. I was trying to be easy. Looks like a hair got in there. Does that ever happen to you guys? I get so aggravated if I have to pick my hair out of something. Alright, so you almost can't see what I'm doing. But here we go. Get that out. And it puts in this sweet little stitching all around the edges, if you can see that. I hope you can. I'm going to lay that to the side for the second. We're going to come back because we got some ink blending to do. And I am looking, okay, here's my case. The only die I have used out of that Garden Meadow die set. So now I've got that put back in there. Let's see, what else do we need to die cut? We need to die cut the sentiment. Let me get my platform back up here. And I've already lost it in the mess on my desk. And I don't know what I did with it. So, I know it's here. There it is. All right. So, I've got my sentiment and my gnome. And let's get out the gnome die. Y'all know how impressed I am with Spellbinders. Well, I gotta tell you something. When I stamped that gnome for the first time, yes, I ran my fingers over that photopolymer stamp, got it kind of conditioned, but flawless in its stamping. I didn't have to fight it. And you know how sometimes if you get a die that's got a little bit of size to it, right in the very middle, it kind of fights you getting enough ink. This didn't. Oh, I was so impressed. Love, love, love my new journey with Spellbinders. I will be getting more of their stuff. I think that's the right die. Is that the right? Yeah. Looky there. And I think this is the one for the books. Okay. May take me a minute here. Let's see. That's not right. Let me twisty turny. I had to do it the very first time I die cut it. There it is there. That is perfect. That is perfect. This is a little bit bigger die. Shouldn't need to tape it. And don't be afraid if you've got a magnetic platform. You know, there may be times you still want to tape down the die just because, right? So, I'm going to lay this in here and let's get this die cut and onward and upward. And I'll show you the inks that I'm going to ink blend with, and I'm going to show you how easy it all is. This card, whoops, this card is really easy. I don't know why that shot out the other side, but that was funny. All right, let me get my dies here. If you can't see me in camera, I am trying to make sure they are safeguarded, and I want to put them back. I have not put these on a magnet sheet yet, but the tape, remember I showed you guys how easy that tape came off? It's still on there. It will grip them. And then for good measure, I am going to put these back into the envelope that they came out of. I've got some more DVD cases on the way. Y'all have, if you've been here for a while at all, you know I got into that habit with Stampin' Up! Because Stampin' Up! Gives us our, they give us their stamps in those DVD cases. And my craft space is so small that it works well for me to have the DVD case holders. Do y'all remember those? Like when the boys were smaller and they played games, I had bought a couple of those racks to put on the wall. Well, I have 4. I have 2 on one side of my closet door over here and 2 on the other side. And I've got the spines. They're already labeled from Stampin' Up! And I could put them in there alphabetically. I used one section just for standalone dies. Again, in alphabetical order, and I think that's what I'm going to continue with, although there will be some things that I probably will use. Now, I've bought some Gina K large stamp pockets because she and some other companies have those larger 6x8 stamp sets, and I do have a real hard time getting those into a CD case, but yeah. All right, I've got my sentiment and my gnome. And do I have to die cut anything else? I've actually already die cut the grass, but we're just going to be ink blending it. So I think I'm good on that. Hope y'all have been having a great week. We've been getting like little bits of rain. Like, we'll get a good rain for 5 or 10 minutes, and then the sun comes out, and it's muggy and yucky and nasty. So, I don't know, but now, last night and this morning, too, we've been getting more of real rain, so I am grateful for that. Now, that die that I showed you earlier from Hero Arts, and I love this, I moved the edge of it up a little ways because I felt like, if you'll see here on my original card, I left a little space. We may end up trimming a little bit of that off, and I do need to go in here with my snips and just line up with where that is. This will actually fill the front of a landscape card. I measured it. It's amazing. It's wonderful. But ours is portrait. We will not be using all of this. Let me just very gently very gently take that apart. All right. Now, I want, do I want my Misty with my sticky mat that's in there? Actually, let me grab my other mat. So, I don't know how well y'all keep up with, some of these other companies. Waffle Flower recently had, and this is the size that goes into the full-size Misty, the regular original Misty, 6.5 by 8.5. And they had a sale on them because they have reformulated all their sizes and they've made them even stickier. So this was on sale. I got it for about the same price because the discount literally paid my taxes and my shipping. So I was happy. I was so happy. And I went ahead and got that as soon as I found out about that. And let me just corral these because I know me. And I'm just going to peel off this top piece here. That's what I ordered this second one for. So I wouldn't have to keep taking it in and out of my Misty. And I've already got something on there, I swear on my time. All right, there we go. Now, I could take the back part off too and leave it laying here, but I am simply going to lay this here. And you know what? Let me get a sheet of white cardstock to put under that so that the design of my tabletop here isn't interfering. Now, when I'm looking through my camera, and I'm hoping that this is not how it's going to look once I get it uploaded, but there's an awful lot of yellow going on. And at first I thought, oh, well, it's these yellow scissors. But when I took them out of the equation, it still looks really yellow here. And I'm hoping my camera is lying to me. All right, so we're going to have our arch. And we're going to have our grass. In fact, I'm going to move the grass down. And let's put it down here. I'll have enough room right there. But yeah, for that price, I thought, yeah. Now, for the sky, I used a Stress Oxide Tumbled glass. Let me show you. 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, I found this on clearance at Walmart. It's a ceramic Imagination Blooms Here. And it's been well used in my craft room. Its current job is to hold all of my brushes from Hero Arts. Some have been used, some have not been used yet. I've got my little Distress ink blending foams. Got those. I've got my Rabbit Hole Designs small mini blending brushes. But all of these you see that are black, they are from Hero Arts, and I love them. And I wanted to relegate a set of brushes just for the oxide inks. I don't want to mix and match. I've heard you can. Probably you can. But to be on the safe side, no, I'm not going to. So I've got a brush here that has some lightish blue. Let me get I think I have a piece of paper towel laying over here because I had some extras the other day. Maybe not, may have used them. So I'm going to get a piece of an ugly paper towel. I call it ugly because I accidentally bought some that had print on them, which I don't do colored paper towels, but we're just going to use this to make real sure that I don't have too much of a darker color on there, and that looks pretty good. So, move that out of the way. My tumbled glass. I did get my ink holders. I did buy 2 tins from Tim Holtz that are specifically formulated. And oh, it has been so nice. It has made such a difference. Alright, now when I ink blend, I do it sporadic. I'm not going to come in here and try to do a solid bit of blue, okay? I'm just kind of hitting and missing. Because if you'll do that, you will get a more realistic look of some clouds in the sky. You want to go back in and make them a little darker? Go back in and make them a little darker. That's fine. I'm going to put a little bit up there. But do you see how by leaving some of that white, magically you have clouds appear? Isn't that neat? That is so neat. I'm going to come down just a little ways with just a little bit of that. I'm going to put some more clouds right in here. And let me see if I can pick this up. I don't know. How well can you see that? Can you kind of see the gradations there in the blues? Still retaining some of that white. It's the easiest ink blending you guys will ever do. Alright, now I'm done with that. And I'm using 2 different greens for the grass. And so, for that, I am pulling in cracked pistachio for my lighter green and rustic wilderness for the dark green. I have got to get an ink stand for these. I really want an ink stand for these. Okay. And I am just going to... Now, obviously, I'm probably doing more ink blending than I really need to do down here. Because part of this is going to be covered up by our grass. But that's okay. I still wanted to kind of fill that in anyway. And you can tell I'm not trying to get a perfect blend there. I am going to be just a little bit pickier with the cracked pistachio. Put that brush up. And then we're going to go in here and we're going to blend in that cracked pistachio and come up just a little ways with it. Just a little ways with it. Love this. It's so smooth. It's really smooth, and I may just go right ahead and bring back in whatever's on my brush of that blue. There we go. Cool beans. All right. Now, that part is done. Oh, well, I got in a hurry, didn't I? All right, guys. I'm okay. I took my meds earlier. I'm okay. So now I'm going to start with the rustic wilderness, and we're going to get the bottom of the grass. Let me move this up, make sure I'm in camera. So obviously you're going to have a little bit darker shading down here at the bottom. So I'm going across with the rustic wilderness. And I have got some good news. I didn't forget. So guys, y'all have heard me several times, many times, and in the description on just about every video, I link to Wendy Cranford's Creative Vault. Getting a tickle in my throat. Let me get a drink of water. She is running a summer sale on membership to her vault. She is reducing the membership by 50%. This will be good until the 28th, which is Sunday. So if you're watching this on Friday, you've only got 2 more days to go in there and check it out. You must use the host code SUMMER, just the word SUMMER. You will then be charged $7.47 a month instead of the $14.95 a month. And let me tell you, in August, she's having 2 live events dealing with the Joseph's coat technique and card making composition. Not only that, all the other goodness that's been going on in the Creative Vault all this time, yeah, you're going to have access to all that. to all the videos, to all the PDFs, to all the previous lives that were done. You will have access. So, all right. And I'm doing light and dark tones, even with the Pistachio. But yeah, her Creative Vault, I signed up from day one. I'm paying full price. And it is worth every penny. Let me tell you, it would break my heart if for any reason I had to leave her vault. Now, if you subscribe, do I get a commission? I do, because I'm an affiliate, but it's not costing you anything extra. And if you didn't believe that before, you should now, because that is an amazing deal, and you will forever get that $7.47 a month as long as you're a member. Now, if you ever stop being a member and then go back, yeah, you'll be paying the $14.95. So that is an awesome deal. Awesome, awesome deal. All right, let me very carefully pick these up. I will be taking this one to the sink in a little bit and washing that ever so gently with some soap and water. Okay, now, one of the things I think I want to do, that's why I had this here. Let me get that gnome die back out. I think I want to cut another one to lay behind it. I think I do. I want to. Is that big enough? Oh yeah, it will be. Awesome. Because I want to pop him up. I have already a die cut to lay behind this one. It already had some stuff on it, and I did some swatching on it, but nobody's gonna see it because I want that to just come up a little bit more. I didn't do that on this card. I did pop the sentiment up with some foam tape, but we are going to, before I forget, go ahead and glue this together and get this. This is that thick accent opaque cardstock. If your cardstock is thin, really thin stuff, you might consider doing 3 layers. I have done 3 before with just regular cardstock. I don't think I'm totally lined up. Not totally lined up. I'll fix that here in just a second. And cut my glue, and I thought about doing this live again like I did last week, and I'm not sure, you know, I'm not seeing any feedback or any comments about, yes, we want you to do a live. I'm snipping this out into the floor over here off camera. Once again, I need to vacuum. I don't know. I guess I'm pretty messy because I am constantly needing to vacuum my poor little floor. Originally, where my little craft space is, it was a bedroom. So it has carpet, which is probably not ideal, but I deal with it. I deal with it. Oh, I'm just going to make that. Yeah, I'm just going to make that. Oh my goodness. Love this. And I'm not real sure why that thing shot out a while ago, but I'm going to make sure it doesn't do it again. See, it didn't do it that time, so I don't know what I did, guys. Oh my heavens. Oh my heavens. That was funny. My glue went in the floor. My take your pick tool went in the floor. What else went in the floor? Oh, the remote for my light over here. That's all right. I'll retrieve them later. That was funny. Oh my goodness, that was funny. All right, so now I have a backing for the gnome. And I just want to make sure I'm not going to sit here and fiddle and be persnickety with it, but At least I know that is safeguarded. I'm going to get this out of the way and get ready to do some assembling. Now, I do have right here for the inside, I have a piece of that blueberry bushel Stampin' Up! Cardstock. I cut that at 4 by 5 1/4. And just lay that layer down. You don't have to do all these layers like I do. Guys, it is so ingrained to me. I don't know how not to. I mean, seriously, I just don't know how not to put a colored layer on the inside. I've tried. I have tried to make myself not do that. And I haven't been successful. And then my white layer out of that accent opaque is 3 3/4 by 5. Oh, poo. I meant to do something before I glued this down. That's all right. We're still going to do it. We're still going to do it. Let me make sure I'm straight. So, one of the stamps in that set is like this little twinkly star. And I wanted to take that and just bring that into the inside. And again, I'm using the blueberry bushel ink from Stampin' Up. And I'm just going to kind of rock that there. I'm going to move it again. And one more time. Right there, up there in that corner. Do I have ink on me? Booger. Okay. Oh, me. Well, I think that's why. I got kind of happy. Yeah, I got kind of happy. I need to stamp that off. I'm going to stamp it off right there. Why not? Nobody's going to see that. Oh, my heavens. There we go. Now I got my little clusters going on there. I can take my sand eraser and get that. I'll do that later. I'm not going to bore you guys with that right now. Oh my gosh, I love this. I just love it. Keeping it real. Gotta keep it real. And I hope by now, those of you that have been around for a little while, I hope you know that about me. I hope you know that I'll always be transparent and honest with you. I'm never going to try to mislead you for any reason, ever. So, yep. You know, with anything you do, there is always good and bad. And even in the world of crafting, there is good and bad. I'm going to take a little piece of tape here. Now, it's well used. I've been die cutting with it. Stick it in there and see if that'll kind of help hold that down. I don't know about you guys, but if I go to put on a layer and it's flopping on my card base, that just drives me crazy. It does. Now, I'm going to use glue on this one too because we have all of those dips and valleys and nooks and crannies and ins and outs from that wonderful embossing. I'm going to tell you, this would be a wonderful embossing folder too if you like to use the reverse side, the deboss side, and like paint and color with different mediums. That's a great technique too. I love doing that. A little time consuming, but I do love doing that. Alright, I think I'm good there. Where's my magic block? My big... Well, I had it here earlier today. Well, oh, there it is. Yep, I had him covered up over here. I'm just going to lay that on there. Just kind of make sure everything is pressed down. Just going to leave that there for a second. And we're going to bring this piece in. And we're going to figure out where we want to put our grass. What do we want on this side? What do we want on that side? Now, I can tell you right now, I want this closer this way so that I can bring a little bit more of that in. So I'm going to move it over. I did the same thing in the other card too. And now here is where you can play and experiment We haven't glued our pieces together yet, but I'm going to bring him into the equation. You see, I don't mind a white outline on my die cuts. I really don't. Some people can't stand it. But this being white right there is really bugging me. I am going to, right off camera, ever so quickly, cut that off. You know what? I'm not even going to use that. I'm going to get my big scissors, and I'm just going to snip that off. I just want that part off right there at the bottom of the book. There we go. There. Now, I think that just looks so much better when you get ready to nestle him in there. I do. I just think that looks better. All right, so back to the grass. Let's go ahead and glue him. That can be setting up. There we go. A little bit right there. Okay. Pick him up. Get him put together. Okay. Got him, got him. Making real sure. Real sure. Okay. Got it. Got it. All right. Now, let's go back here. And again, I want that over about so. And this about here. So, I am going to put my glue from about right here, just on the bottom. I'm not going all up into the foliage. If you want to do that later, you can absolutely do it. But I'm only going from, oh, I see one I didn't get knocked out of there. I'm only going from the tallest one on this side to about the tallest one on that side. And I'm going to line it up with the edge because I'm okay with the thickness that I have going on down here. You could always, you know, trim this up a little bit if you wanted to. You could. You could absolutely put this back in your trimmer and slice some of this down here off if you weren't happy with how high up you had your die. Okay, and I'm going to now hold that for a second. This is set up really well. And do I have a second one for this one? You know, I don't. But let me tell you what I can do. Let's do this. Let's just kind of get around behind here. I'm just doing a rough. I'm too lazy to get the machine back out again and cut another layer. And this is not going to be perfect by any means, but at least I know it's not going to stick out when I glue a little bit of reinforcement back behind it. You know, sometimes things don't have to be all that. It doesn't have to be all so fancy smancy. That's just going to give that a little bit of extra something because we are going to pop this up. So that just kind of gives that a little bit more. And glue that. All the gluing, I think, now is done. Oh, I love the mess I'm making here. Gotta love it. That's all right. Now, let me check this. Oh, yeah, that feels good and solid. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over. We're just going to cut off that excess. There's that. And there is this one, if I can get steady Freddy, and just a little bit right there. There we go. Now, could you use that anywhere else? Possibly. As for me, I'm going to throw it away. Because sometimes you just have to say no to all those fiddly bits, right? So, I do know I want him more over to the left-hand side. And I don't want, well, I swear on my time, forgot to cut that off, didn't I? No wonder it didn't look right to me. All right, now we're good. I do want him more over to the right-hand side, but I don't want him sunk way down in there. I kind of like the illusion that he's back in the grass, having fun with all of his books. And then we're going to bring the sentiment in. And on my original card, the sentiment kind of overhangs just a little bit, but not a whole lot. So let's get ready and start gluing this together. And this is why I did not glue down the foliage on the bottom. But guys, I really hope you try Wendy's Creative Vault. There'll be a link in the description below. I will also link to all of these supplies that I'm using, whether they are for Stampin' Up! Or Spellbinders or Hero Arts, or, you know, I will make sure that there are links to everything down there. I'm really bad about forgetting to leave links on inks, and so I promise I'll do that too. We had one ink that we used from Stampin' Up, several from Ranger Distress Oxide inks, and again, I kind of want this over here just a bit. Let me sketch that back over just a little ways. I'm looking at how much I have here, here, and up here. And let's see. I'm going to bring my big block in because we glued that down over all that delicious embossing. And I want to make sure we get good adhesion. Okay. And I think I'm done with the glue. I think I am. Let's cap that little boy back up. I'm going to put my scissors away while that's sitting there. And that feels pretty good. And yes, I do still have tons of Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. I do. So we're going to put dimensionals on here. I don't want them showing. I know I want one in each corner. Come on. There. And right there. And I think that is going to work like a charm. And let's do a final. Okay, I don't want to mount too far away from it. I want the whole scene to be somewhat cohesive. So I do kind of want that kind of in there to where when you're looking at the front of this card, your eye is not just bouncing all over the place trying to take it all in. It's pretty much got a flow to it. Okay, so about like so. And hopefully I've got it on there straight. All right, now we're in the home stretch. We're going to put on some bling and we'll be good. Now, I will not be linking to the bling because it is some older Stampin' Up! Retired artistry blooms. These are several years old. I have to retrieve my Take Your Pick tool. These here have shades of purples and greens and blues, and they're really, really pretty because I have the green, I have the blue. And so what I did on my original card is I just kind of laid them down here because that was letting me see which ones had more of the blue or which ones had more of the green. And so we're just going to put a couple of them up there. Here's another one. It's got quite a bit of blue. Well, he flipped. Oh my goodness. There we go. I found him. I rescued him. And we're going to put that there. And I can have some green down here near the grass. And I can also have some blue down here. I'm looking. I know it doesn't make any sense to you seeing this on camera, but in real life I can kind of see the tones a little bit better here. And let's See if I can find one that's got some blue and some green. And we're going to put one right there. All right, guys, what do you think? Do you like this card? Do you like gnomes like I do? I love gnomes. I'll be doing more with this set before all is said and done. I think he's going to be adorable to use for the fall, for autumn, for Thanksgiving. Absolutely, I think he could be. But here is the one I made before, and here is the one we just made together. So what do you think? And can you kind of tell how some of that may have looked splotchy before, it settled down, it smoothed out. Ditto for the ink blending, which you can't go wrong with Distress Oxide, guys. They are magical inks for blending for sure. Anyway, y'all have a awesome weekend. Be blessed. Know you are loved. God is good all the time. Bye.